Hello everyone and welcome back to the Lagoon. Today we will be starting a week-long deep dive into algae. So let's get started. So let me just start by kind of explaining this whole deep dive thing. So basically whenever we do like a week-long deep dive, we'll pick a topic and then I'll talk about all things that relate to that for basically the entire week. So on algae, what I'm going to do is cover basically all the different types of algae and how they appear in your tank and how to get rid of them and just stuff like that. So on this episode, we'll be starting with diatoms. Now the first thing I have to do is explain exactly what a diatom is, and it's basically just a type of photosynthetic algae more or less. Now as to how they appear in your tank, there's a lot of debate on that, I guess you could say. I mean, they kind of just appear out of nowhere, and as weird and as strange as that sounds, that's kind of just the case. And especially whenever you're starting a new aquarium, you're definitely going to have a lot of them kind of like start to get into your aquarium, and yeah, you're just going to have to deal with them for a while, but there are a few things that you can do to try to get rid of them. Now, first we have to understand how they're thriving in the aquarium. So first off, as I said before, they are photosynthetic, meaning that they use light to get their energy. So if you have your aquarium light on for too long, then that can be one of the ways that they're reproducing so rapidly. Now, the second thing would be excess nutrients in the aquarium. That would be things like nitrates and phosphates and things like that. And if you're starting a new tank, a lot of the times you're going to have swings. And the last thing would be decomposing matter, such as plants or maybe a fish that might have died in the aquarium, because that also is going to lead to things like nitrate spikes and phosphate spikes as well, just all those nutrients in there. So now that we kind of have an understanding on how exactly diatoms start to thrive in your aquarium, now we can start to learn how to get rid of them. So the first thing that we have to do is target the problem itself. Now this is extremely important because I could just give you a list of certain organisms that would be your cleanup crew and that would just take care of it. And I will do that, but we're going to get to that later. But if we don't take care of the source of the problem, then they're just going to keep coming back and coming back faster than any amount of cleanup crew you have can actually take care of the problem. So as I talked about before, some of the things that might cause them would be excess light. So if you have your aquarium light on for too long, it's a good idea to put it on a timer, and a good rule of thumb is to start it out at 8 hours and then scale it forward or back depending on your needs for that. And as I was talking about before, excess nutrients like nitrates and phosphates would be another reason why it can get out of control. And how we would work with that is that we would have to find the source of those nitrates and phosphates and all those organics in the water. More often than not, with a lot of people that are beginning in the hobby, you're going to find excess feeding. And if that's the case, then you should really start to cut back on your feeding. Or you can just do a lot more water changes in your aquarium. Either or would be okay. But yeah, really feeding is the number one thing, or if there's a fish that might have died in the aquarium, that's possible if it was running for a long time, if your aquarium was running for a longer period of time, that's extremely possible as well, or you're just having a lot of decaying matter as far as if it's a planet tank goes, if you're having some die-off with your plants, that could be something else. So we'd have to look at all that and then find the actual source of where all these organics are coming from and why that it's getting out of control. So, now that we have hopefully taken care of the actual source of the problem, how do we get rid of the diatoms themselves? So what you have to know, and it's very important, if you ever have one of those mag floats, one of those things wherever you like run across your aquarium, it's super cool, it takes care of the algae, it scrapes it off, that's great. But the thing is with diatoms, if you just run it across there and you knock them off, then they're going to come back and they're going to reproduce and they're going to be stronger than ever. So what we have to do with that is we would want to take a paper towel and we want to separate and place it right in between where the mag float connects and where the mag float is in the aquarium. So once we connected that paper towel, we can then run it across, and then whenever we do that, we will actually absorb all of the diatoms into the paper towel itself, and then we can throw that away so it doesn't get out of control and reproduce everywhere in the aquarium. Now you can also just go in there with the paper towel itself, and you don't have to worry about having the mag float or algae scrubber or whatever. You just want to make sure that you're capturing those diatoms somehow and you're not just knocking them off and letting them free float or whatever. We just want to make sure we absorb them somehow and then throw them away so that they're not going to keep reproducing and reproducing in the aquarium itself. Now, if you have, that takes care of the glass pretty well, but if you have any of the diatoms on any ornaments, like fish ornaments in there, or any decorations, or rocks, or wood, or anything like that, then basically what we're going to want to do is look at pretty much anything that's considered an off-flux grazer, which means they basically have that like sucker mouth on them. So for that, you could do a lot of different types of snail species. Pretty much every snail species is gonna eat diatoms. You can also look at bristlenose plecos, or pretty much almost, I want to say almost any pleco will eat diatoms. And then you could also look at autosynclists. Those guys are great as well. And then Siamese algae eaters to a degree are okay. They're definitely not the best algae eater for diatoms by any means, but they can also help a little bit as well. Personally, I think that bristlenose plecos take care of it the fastest. Snails are another great invertebrate to put in there if you're looking for something a little bit smaller and you have a smaller aquarium, and they're great to put in there as well, and they're also usually a little hardier and can take lower temperatures. So if you don't have a heater, then they would be great for that. So you don't have to use the bristlenose or autosynclists or anything like that. But yeah, with all that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you tomorrow on this deep dive.